we open the Book of Boba Fett. Oh, actually, you know what?
So the right just realized you're coming through my speakers and not my headset.
Yeah, I know it's my big loud voice. What can
I was
say?
like, why do I hear Gerald so loud?
I'm gonna mute you guys for the opening. Sorry. That. 3, 2. On this week's episode, we open the Book of Boba Fett. We strike fast and strike hard with Cobra Kai, and we pay tribute to a legend in Betty White. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. And Happy New Year and welcome to 2022, everyone. Appreciate you listening and watching. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, the Lakers Fast Break, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, PopCultureCosmos.com, or anything that we do right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. For me, Gerald Glassford, it is truly appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without some good friends to start off 2022. They are the awesome Monroy clan. You got to go ahead and catch Degenerate 2018 whenever he invades the land of Twitch. You can do it today at twitch.tv/Degenerate 2018. It is my good friend. Almost 10 years now. It is Jamie Monroy. And also, following up on the Monroy clan, it's Alex Monroy as well. Welcome, Monroys, to the Pop Culture Cosmos once again.
So nice to be here in the cosmos.
I was going to say, so I
He thought
lost
we
you
thought we
both.
landed. He's like, oh no, detour.
Yes, a detour indeed. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be a great episode. Sorry for the feedback in your mics. First off, that was my loud and unfortunately boisterous voice coming through there. So I truly apologize for that as always. But it is going to be a great episode that we're going to kick off 2022 right here for you at the Pop Culture Cosmos. We're going to talk about a lot of great things, including opening the Book of Boba Fett with episode 1 now on Disney Plus and where it may go for the next few episodes. Plus also as well, we're talking some Cobra Kai because it dropped just before the end of the year at Netflix. Right now, the whole season 4 is available to you, all 10 episodes right now on Netflix. So we're going to talk about my impressions of Cobra Kai season 4. Season 3 was a winner with me, and on my best of 2021 list, could season 4 be as well? You'll find out here in a minute. Plus, the WWE had its day 1 pay-per-view over the weekend, and, well, due to some unforeseen circumstances with the coronavirus, things had to be changed at the last minute, and a familiar face wins a version of the WWE World title, the Monday version per se. We'll talk about a familiar face winning once again, if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the WWE coming up. Plus, also, we have some predictions because it's that time of the year to go ahead and talk about what we think is going to happen in pop culture for 2022. And last but certainly not least, on the back end of the show, we'll be paying our respects to a legend in the entertainment industry just before her 100th birthday. Betty White passed away. We'll talk about what she's done for pop culture, the entertainment industry, and basically why she was such a cool person to go ahead and follow in pop culture all these years coming up on the back end of the show as well. But Alex and Jamie, it's great to have you here once again. I want to hear your thoughts. First off, Disney Plus debuted a new series this past week, just before the end of the new year, and that just before the end of 2021, and that was the Book of Boba Fett with episode 1. And in it, in the first 10 minutes, we got a lot of answers in questions regarding how did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc pit? What happened to him early on? How did he get where he got? Because he made his arrival back in the last season of The Mandalorian and made his presence felt there. This is the series centering around him. I want to hear your thoughts first, Alex, on this. I'm going to let you go first. Tell me your thoughts going into episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett.
I found it pretty good. I liked how it kind of catches you up on what's happened in the past till now.
Brownie points if you know what that past was.
Yes.
Return. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Are you both still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Well, no worries, Alex. I mean, were you entertained by the episode? Did it? Because for me, it was kind of a little bit slow. It did answer the questions first off, but once it finished answering those long-standing questions Star Wars have had over the years, I think it was really a little bit of a slow burn per se. It wasn't a bad episode, but it was just not something that's going to be outside of just one, I guess maybe 5-minute fight sequence. Just really wasn't that much to it as far as the Book of Boba Fett is concerned.
Yeah, as someone who's kind of been into Star Wars, but not so much till recently, it did feel a little slow, but I also caught up on some things I may have missed in the past.
That's excellent. Excellent thoughts there. I mean, was it something that going into it, I mean, I'm sure you've heard Boba Fett, how cool is Boba Fett? Boba Fett is a part of pop culture, especially with Star Wars fans, that people want to see and know more about, his backstory and all that, because he's been he was a minor player in the Star Wars universe and was going to be almost a forgotten part, but he had that cool factor that fans really wanted to go ahead and make something more special for him as far as the story is concerned. And I think that the Star Wars community took notice of that, and basically the book, basically Boba Fett has been able to take a life of his own. But, seeing that you are a newer fan to the Star Wars scene, was it something that's going to keep your interest continuously, or are you looking for something with a little bit more pop per se?
In the beginning, it did kind of bore me out, but later on in the episode, when it got into more detail, that's when it kind of hooked me into more of the Star Wars series, and it's making me want to go see the other things they've already shown.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, then that's what they want to do. They're actually, with Star Wars, and for a smaller extent Marvel. In fact, they're doing it right now with Sony's Marvel's obviously Spider-Man with No Way Home and all that. They want to cater to your audience, to a younger audience. They want to get you hooked so you'll be able to go ahead and pass the torch, or get the torch passed to you, so to speak, so you could go ahead and become those super fans for the next 2-3 decades, like your father and me have been for, well, in my case, way too long now. But I will say that it's something that if they got you hooked when it comes to something like Boba Fett, eventually after a slow start, that you want to come back to it, that's the key, because you're the demographic that Sony, Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, they all want to go ahead and connect with you. Warner Brothers, DC. That's why the Suicide Squad was so cool, because it just connected with a younger audience. That's why, again, Spider-Man No Way Home is so cool, because they want to connect with younger audience. Jamie, I want to ask you your thoughts initially on the Book of Boba Fett episode 1. Again, after it ended all the questions that were asked about what happened over the years in regards to the Sarlacc pit, and just basically how did he get out of that, as far as what happened in the events of Return of the Jedi following those events and everything
After
going on
blind
there.
Han Solo bumped him off the airship.
Yeah, and then he fell into the Sarlacc pit. I mean, what happened to him? We found out, spoiler alert, we found out, and basically it just shows. Well, in fact, if you've already seen the Mandalorian, you know he got out of the Sarlacc pit, so it just shows you specifically how that's the case. It
It just
showed you
answered
that,
that. Like,
yeah,
hey, well, this is how he did it.
yeah, and it showed you showed you a side of the Tusken Raiders that I really think was very interesting. But tell me your
Mhm.
thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 1.
I liked how it was filling in that gap, like, okay, here, guys, we'll explain it. We know you're over there going, he just randomly shows up in Mandalorian with no explanation.
Yeah,
So, they filled that part in, which was great. It gave a lot of fan service to us. You know, that's we knew about all that. Return of the Jedi, where Han Solo, blind Han is like, doom, knocks him off by accident, and you're just thinking, well, where'd that go? It never answered it till now. And that's kind of
exactly.
cool that we get that, and like you were saying, where they're catering to, Alex's demographic and such, to where it might want to make them go back and go, well, how did he fall into that? So, 'cause I was explaining to them earlier, Return of the Jedi is where he got bumped into there, and they just kind of left it at that. Because it was
Exactly.
one of those, what ifs they could have left wide open, and we never saw him again and never got it answered, and we just all assumed he died, or now it was, well, we saw him again, but how? So it was kind
Well,
of one of
that's what
those things.
well, that's what they want to do. They want to get, obviously make it cool for you and I. And
Mm-hmm.
they did the explainer in the 10 minutes for all those long-standing fans like you and I on what happened, with Boba Fett once he fell into the Sarlacc pit. But with Alex and the demographic that they're in, people and her contemporaries are in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just, Alex, I tell you what, they're really targeting you when it comes to Disney and Marvel. Hawkeye, which was the latest Marvel series, which I thought was tremendous, Alex, with
Absolutely.
Yelena Belova and Kate Bishop, young Avengers, along with a whole ton of other young Avengers on the way. They're catering for the next decade or two to have you continue to watch. So seeing that's the case, and seeing what Disney's blueprint is over the course of the future, what Sony's blueprint is, over the course of the future with what they're doing with Spider-Man, is what they're doing with little things like you're seeing from Boba Fett. Does it really want to make you see more of the show going forward?
To me, yes. Boba Fett has always been one of those more interesting characters to me in Star Wars. So learning more about him and then his past is also like opening up a different, I guess, spectrum of things. And it's making me want to learn more about his colleagues or the people he worked with.
Well, see, he
Yeah.
had really big shoes to fill, not to butt in, but he really had some big shoes to fill if you know some of the lore with this episode. He took Jabba the Hutt's place, basically. So that was some big shoes to fill, considering, like he even said himself, Jabba ruled with fear and never left where he was at. Whereas Boba was different. No, I'm going to go out there and they're going to know that I handle my business myself.
He wants to rule with respect.
Uh-huh.
And with the only thing with that is, because he took over for Jabba, they really haven't given him the town per se, or the area that he's trying to go ahead and gain control of or have
Mm-hmm.
control of. They really aren't giving him the respect yet that he feels he deserves. So I think over the course of the series, you're going to see a pushback and a shove back from both sides of the equation, and also the other parts of organized crime, the underworld of Star Wars per se, which I think in recent years, I think Rogue One brought this about really, and I know you and I've talked about this before in the past, Jamie. It's that
Mm-hmm.
the underbelly of what Star Wars has really become an interesting part of the Star Wars lore, because people really want to find out what's going on.
Oh, absolutely, because that's where everything is, that's the, I don't want to say the meat and potatoes of it, but it's the livelihood. It's what's going on a daily basis. Besides the fact that there's Jedi's in the universe. This is what the daily struggles are in the universe of all these smugglers and traitors and all the other things going on that they don't really focus on in the main Star Wars movies, where they can focus on it more in these little out projects, because it's not so much a focus on a main character like Luke or a main character in the Jedi's or anything like that. I like that because now you're going to see that extra bit of story that you always see in the background, but now it's going to be the forefront.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Alex, I mean, as someone again, a newer viewer, that again they're targeting more than Jamie or I. You said it's going to continue to gain your interest or going over the course of the next few episodes. It is a limited series, and it does again, hopefully, will tell the tale of Boba Fett. But by the end of the series, what are you hoping to gain out of this? What is the ultimate goal for you as a viewer to learn more about Boba Fett? Do you want to see more of the, just actually all the Star Wars lore and learn more about that? Or do you hope it leads into more of the Mandalorian, which is the premier Star Wars series on Disney Plus?
I'm kind of hoping that it just leads more into how Star Wars kind of began and like how everything just started in that universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said right there, because you know, it is the point right after the original third movie in the trilogy, Return of the Jedi. So it's still very early on in the Star Wars telling lore that they go back to for this. So you're finding out more about that whole era right there, and that's where the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian like reside right there in that era, in that time period. So you hit it right there on the head as far as trying to go ahead and have you learn more about the lore. And it's, I think, detailed series, even if they're limited in the number of episodes that they can show, that give you more of that lore indeed. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. Again, for me, it was a slow burn. Obviously the time that he spent with the Tusken Raiders being in prison, they did flashbacks to that period of time. I think it gives you the idea that there was much for him to go ahead and suffer through before you see the events of what happened and how he entered into the realm of the Mandalorian. But it shows you that there was a struggle that he had to go through before he got to where he's at. But right now very encouraged by what I see with the Book of Boba Fett. I'm hoping for a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more action, but I like what I see so far. Again, a slow burn for me. Jamie, Alex has been so great as far as sharing thoughts on this. Any last thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett before we hit episode 2 this week?
I just hope we get some more cool Cantina music
Do, do,
somewhere
do,
in
do,
here.
do, do, do,
Yep,
do,
you know what
do,
I'm talking
do,
about.
do. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They had most of the original band from the original Star Wars there, so that was kind of a cool thing. And I love the fact that when Disney, with either the Marvel or Star Wars, is doing, they put a lot of these little, these little nuggets in there, these little Easter eggs in there from the past, or little touches on occasion that it's really nice to see from the Marvel movies and Star Wars movies from the past. So I really like what I see when they go. It's an attention to detail, which I see a lot, although that does at times, like the Mandalorian, lead to the episode where there was the assistant that was actually seen on camera, what they call him, the jeans guy, I think was what they called
Oh
him, when he
yeah,
actually
yeah.
accidentally appeared. And so funny because he became viral in the minute that episode was on the
Like the
air. And they,
Starbucks cup in the Game of Thrones.
yes, absolutely. They actually made even a action figure out of him. As far as the fans made an action figure out of him as the jeans guy in the full Star Wars packaging, if you can believe that. So, as long as you have that great attention to detail, though, it's much beloved for Star Wars fans, new and old. But everyone out there, I want to hear your thoughts on what you thought of the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 1, and where you want to take the series from here. Where do you want them to go when it comes to the underworld and learning more about the seedy underside of Star Wars with the Book of Boba Fett? Please share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, there's so much more to talk about on today's program because Netflix also last week, just before the start of the new year, dropped 10 more episodes of karate loving goodness, kung fu loving goodness, whichever you want to say, with the Karate Kids offshoot series, which has become an amazing thing of its own. Started on YouTube as one of their first original series. And then when YouTube got out of original series, they handed it over to Netflix, and that is Cobra Kai. This is now season 4. It's the first official series under Netflix because it's the first one that was made under the Netflix banner. When Netflix acquired Cobra Kai, season 3 was already in the can made, but that was actually still intended to be put onto a a YouTube platform. But again, it got put on Netflix, which was great. Season 3 was awesome. I enjoyed it very much. It was one of my best of for 2021. Jamie, I want to head it back over to you when it comes to Cobra Kai. This is a season, for me, the thing is, I think it's very Melrose Place 90210-ish in that it deals a lot more in the teen soap opera type deal. It also brings in a familiar character, just like it did in previous seasons, a familiar character from the Karate Kid movies. This time, Terry Silver from the not as much seen Karate Kid Part 3. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think this season, for me overall, and we're going to go into probably possible spoilers for everyone out there as well. I mean, yes, it's beyond the trailer. The trailer already hinted that Terry Silver was going to drop in, but I want to hear your thoughts on this season. The season for me overall, I think, was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't a home run, but it did enough of what it needed to do, even given the fact that Terry Silver is not as widely known as the familiar faces from the previous 2 films back in the 80s.
It didn't really. I'll agree with you. It didn't have that kind of punch, pun
Yes.
intended, as season 3. Season 3 came with a lot of story, a lot of backbone, a lot of energy, and it just kept rolling. It was like a big rolling thunder from start to finish of that season. This season, not so much. I have to agree with you. It is a lot of. I wanted to say more of a teen rom-com, but it's not even. There's no com. It's just the
Oh,
teen rom. But
yeah.
if you notice, the teen rom is also rubbing off on the adults right now in a certain aspect, not to spoil too much for anybody out there. And also, there's a lot of teen drama that's affecting the adults, where I feel like the adults should see more through this, and they're not.
Well, that's what I want to ask Alex, being that you're a teen and in that age group that can say, and I know one of my daughters, Arwen, has been checking this out with me. And first off, she's critiquing the stances of every time they get into the fight motions because she has a little bit of a kung fu background, but she also is remarking on this little bit of the cheesy, I guess, interactions between some of the teenagers and things of that nature. And yes, some of it's contrived, a little bit more contrived than normal for this show. Some of it's been very good. Some of it's been all right. But I'll talk about the good later on here, but your thoughts on this so far, as the overall setup of the series has been for you, the interrelationships between the characters, especially the teenage ones, because it's still, part of it is still set in the high school setting, and of course a lot of it in the dojos from the various factions and sides. But I want to hear your thoughts so far on Cobra Kai season 4. Is it connecting with you at all?
For me, it's more of just an okay season. I do prefer like more action-based stuff. So all the drama does feel like it's kind of just dragging out the series.
I
Um,
agree with you. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I mean, because they put it out to 10 episodes. I really think they could have gotten away with 7 and just been just fine.
yeah.
I mean the relationships when you see all that talking as far as the kids are concerned with the love lives and the interpersonal relationships that they have. I mean, is that something that as a fellow teenager, is that something that you can actually just do you roll your eyes when you see stuff like that, or do you actually think what something similar that type happens to where I'm at in school and high school and whatnot? Is that something that actually is relatable, or is it something that just makes you go, ugh, cringe?
Me normally, I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but a lot of people like that factor of shows where it's like that sort of genre.
Yeah.
They like the drama. That's just not really my cup of tea.
I can't say I can't say I disagree with you because 90210 and Melrose Place and several other teenage dramas have built a quite a history of successful series and shows based off of the teenage drama. So I get it, and I'm not saying it was bad. Sometimes it dragged itself out a little bit more than it needed to be. Once again, it took a lot of a spotlight off of the relationships maybe I did want to see more of, and that was Johnny Lawrence and Danny LaRusso, and all because this season they're forced to work together, and the working together and combining of their dojos. I mean, it's so fun because Ralph Macchio makes a joke. Did you come up with the name to Johnny Lawrence? Did you come up with the name of your dojo from the painting that's right above my head, which was this eagle.
The cheesy picture over his couch.
Yeah, that which you could tell that's probably what he did. So it's so funny because William Zabka just does not look like a natural born actor, but yet he steals every scene because he knows how he comes off on screen, and he plays up to it. He uses it. He's not natural, but it works. It works so well. Even in season 4, I mean, he is the reason why, for me, this has really turned around because I was so negative on the films over the years, and I've told you that definitely.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about, but I mean, the interpersonal relationship that he has with Danny LaRusso, and that's still that I don't trust you, but I gotta trust you, but I gotta work with you.
They still have that high school relationship that they did of the new kid and the kid that was been popular at school the whole time, and still fighting for that popularity even after high school has been long over, and still feels threatened by the fact the new kid is still moving in on his territory, so to speak. Because you could see that throughout this season again, where the relationship with Daniel and Miguel, Manuel, as kind of grows, and
Miguel, you're right.
You see that father figure kind of there for Miguel, where I think Johnny thought he was gonna try, he was there for him like that, where you see Daniel kind of, hey, check it out, you've never driven before, you're gonna drive. It was kind of that father moment where it's kind of a bonding thing, where you thought you would have seen that with Johnny, but you're not seeing that so much with Johnny.
Because
you see Johnny getting jealous.
Because
very, very jealous.
His character's so inept and so oblivious to those obvious things and the way he could build a relationship, yet he just would rather have his manwiches and his beer.
Right here, let me grab my ham out of the fridge and just eat a slice while I'm drinking a beer with you.
But it's just so good. He is so good, because you can tell
it works.
Because I know he's been in stuff throughout the years, but he's also played up his Johnny Lawrence character over the years and being able to market it even after so many years, even before what we see with Cobra Kai. But he is just so tremendous because he knows what he's doing. He knows he's not the polished seasoned actor when he goes out there on screen. Yet he plays everything as far as, okay, you want me to be a loser? I'll be as much of a loser as you want me to.
You got it.
Yes, exactly. And he does that so well. And Danny LaRusso, sometimes the adversary, sometimes the friends, he works, even in a nice way, he works against William Zabka's character, Johnny. It's just all the time, just the way that they play. That's what still works. 4 seasons.
They play very well off each other.
Yeah, they do. That's why this show still works. That's why this show still gets a positive grade for me, is because of those two. I just wish I would have seen more of it, but I understand why they need to build the relationships between everybody else, and also the relationship between Kreese and Terry Silver. I mean, a lot of people out there aren't familiar with it because they didn't see the movie out there as far as that relates to it, but it was okay for what it was. It's just
I think they flashed back enough to what anybody that didn't see that movie though needed to see as far as how Silva affected Daniel.
Yeah, and I
and how much of a plague he could be to someone.
But he wanted to start off good. He wanted to start off nice. He just wanted to start off straight up, just helping out Cobra Kai.
He wanted nothing to do with it as a whole, to be honest. At first.
Yeah, at first, and then he got turned over to the dark side. Kreese is actually the one pulling all the strings, and I really think as long as they keep Kreese as the central bad guy figure, they're doing themselves justice there. Silver as a ancillary side evil character. I think that works as well. But Alex, again, this is something that I think is also meant for your age group because they want to go ahead and see if it connects. And that's the reason why it's been so popular on YouTube and now Netflix, is because it's been able to connect with younger audiences. I know, for instance, with us as older guys who actually saw the movies and now are appreciating Cobra Kai even more. But for someone such as yourself, is it connecting with your contemporaries? Are people still talking about Cobra Kai? Because I see it still viral going out there that Cobra Kai still has a name that people want to follow.
With where I am, not many people talk about it as like when it first came out. It definitely has died down some with, I think, of my generation, and I do think it is more intriguing to the people who basically grew up with it when it was first coming out.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. And, it's all in the numbers with Netflix. But with you, Jamie, I want to close out our conversation on Cobra Kai. I think the big thing is the numbers with Netflix. I mean, we saw Cowboy Bebop open to a tremendous following and then started to die off in popularity with each and every episode with the hardcores. Yet for me, I thought it was a great series. And again, it was one of my best of 2021. I know I'm in the minority when I say that, but I thought it was good enough to keep alive. But Netflix didn't, so they gave that the cut. I want to hear your thoughts. Will this be the final season for Cobra Kai on Netflix? Because you can never tell on Netflix what they're going to do. Are they going to keep it going, or are they going to go ahead and cut the cord while they have a chance?
Well, you were speaking to the numbers. Now that brings up something I wanted to point out too. Speaking of the numbers, they are going a little team romance, they were saying a little cheesy there, everything like that. Is that part of their key though? Can we look at the popularity per se of Riverdale, things like that have grown in so much popularity that maybe they're trying to take a page out of that book, but not necessarily run fully down that road, but kind of grab a little bit of that, teen romance here and there and drama to kind of spark more maybe an audience from those genres to say, hey, take a look at this. They're doing it over here. This is pretty good. They got their little fighting things, but they're doing teenage romance and real problems. I wonder if that's part of their tactic to say if they're going to keep going. I think that honestly, I think we're going to see maybe one more season of Cobra Kai before I think Netflix plays the hang it up game.
Who can they actually bring back from the old series that's left? The only other two names I think of any note would be from the actual 90s movies, Hilary Swank,
which has been talked about.
Jackie Chan, which has also been requested. I know a lot of the producers
That's
out there.
That's been requested. I know Hilary Swank was talked about, and I know it was but I wonder if the reaction from a certain actor in Cobra Kai is going to axe that one. I don't know if you know about Daniel's reaction to people and the rumor and talking about her coming into Cobra Kai. He had mentioned straight flat out, basically killed the notion that she had anything to do with the Karate Kid lore and with Mr. Miyagi's as far as that storyline goes, so that she would have nothing to do with this. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, Jaden Smith as well. We'll see what happens with either one of those three individuals if they would be introduced reintroduced in a Cobra Kai season 5. But
I feel overall, like Hilary Swank would be the only one that would make sense.
I agree with you on that, but Jackie Chan, for name value purposes, I think would also be something. I think.
How do you explain that though?
Maybe a relative.
I knew Mr. Miyagi and somehow became a successor, and that was never explained until now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, stranger things have happened. We all thought Boba Fett was dead all these years, so.
That's true, and we also thought of the same thing with Karate Kid, but look what happened to Cobra Kai. But right. Alex, let me ask you this before we head on out: would you be excited for a season 5? Is it something you would tune back into if they were able to bring another season out?
It would definitely have to depend on if it is more drama and rom-com based.
Well, let me ask you a question, Alex. If it went back to a season 3, if we went back to the action of the high school fight,
or that was the season 2. That was
season
like
2, right?
Yeah, that was
if we had the high school fight.
The
And then
world's
we had
longest.
season 3, all that action during season 3, the recovery, all that story in depth. Would those 2 seasons, if it was something mixture of those 2 seasons, would that do anything for it?
I feel like that would bring back more of the interest in it and bring back more of the hype as well with it.
I hope so. I hope they understand that. Again, season 3 was a perfect blend for me as far as action plus storylines. I think they mixed it very well. I think they
Right
had
now,
a
it just
lot to
seems like
draw
a
from.
little too much character development.
Yeah, and I think that's something that if it does get the axe, that may be one of the reasons why. But I'm hoping not. We'll see where it's trending right now on Netflix. I know a lot of people are talking about it. Hopefully, it'll trend at #1 for a couple weeks, so that will give it time to go ahead and give it that okay for season 5. Let's see if we can
We
go
can hope.
ahead and let's see if we can go ahead and toss a coin to the Witcher and say, you know what, give me a couple weeks at #1. So we'll see what happens with Cobra Kai season 4. But tell me your thoughts out there. If you liked Cobra Kai season 4, if it's met your expectations, or if you want to see something more, and if you think there will be a season 5 of Cobra Kai, strike fast, strike hard, and let us know at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, we're going to be talking about some more great things, including the WWE is letting Brock Lesnar win a championship again. Is that a good thing or bad thing? Plus, our predictions and pop culture for 2022, and we pay respects to the late Betty White. That's coming up on the back end of the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the show. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, along with Alex Monroy and Jamie Monroy. Alex, do you do any streaming on Twitch like your dad?
Yes.
Tell me that channel.
I stream, and my channel name is Atomic Monkey.
There you go. Atomic Monkey indeed on Twitch. Please follow Alex today, Atomic Monkey on Twitch. And we all know Degenerate 2018 on Twitch. That's Degenerate 2018 on Twitch. Once again, it's the Pop Culture Cosmos. We are the #1 streamer on Facebook for everything tabletop RPGs. Please catch all of our great games, including this past weekend. We had not one, but 2 great games from our DM, Mitch. And we look forward to our usual Demolition Force on Monday. We look forward to a lot of great things going on throughout the rest of the week with all of our Dungeons & Dragons and other tabletop RPG games, because we're the #1 tabletop RPG streamer. Please catch our games today, plus the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. Well, the WWE, Jamie, your favorite land of all lands. The thing when I talk to you the most, your eyes light up the most when I talk about it, and that's the WWE. And this past weekend, due to an unforeseen development with Roman Reigns, unfortunately testing positive for the coronavirus, that set the main event for day 1 in a little bit of flux, because he was supposed to be meeting up against Brock Lesnar for the SmackDown Championship, or as I call it, the Friday Championship. Unfortunately, that match didn't take place because of the positive test. Brock Lesnar was then put over into a 5-way match for the Raw WWE Championship, aka the Monday Championship. And wouldn't you know, I guess the changes were so last minute, they made a last minute title switch. And after a pretty good main event, I think, in my opinion, not great, but it was okay for a 5-man match. I mean, those are going to be a little bit of a cluster every now and then, but overall it was all right. And after all said and done, Brock Lesnar is once again the WWE champion, or a WWE champion, I should say. He now holds the Raw title, which he won over Big E, defeating him at the same time, and also setting up a possible program with Bobby Lashley, because it looked like during the match those two were very good against each other, working with each other. And there was a spot there in the middle that there was a spear through the barricade, which made Bobby Lashley look pretty good against Brock Lesnar. So they had that in mind as far as facing those two off, I think, for the title going forward. Your thoughts on Brock Lesnar regaining a world title? Once again, we have a champion that is not going to be there for your house shows, is only going to be there sporadically for your TV shows. Is it the best move for the WWE at this time once again?
So Mr. Free Agent Brock Lesnar rolls his way back into WWE, makes it very known that he's a free agent and he'll do what he wants, calls an audible, and walks out with the title. Imagine that. Who could have thunk it? I
Uh,
don't I don't agree with it at all. I was never a fan of the fact that he waltzed in to begin with from UFC, named his price on his contract, called his shot, did what he wanted, broke the streak, and just said, I don't care, and ran around for 6 months with a title we only saw like 3 times in a 6 month period, and that was if we were lucky.
it's very disappointing to me, I
I
think.
don't think that's a good move to go backwards like that when it wasn't a good move then.
It seems like it's a fail-safe. Like, okay, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We need to make some kind of imprint. We're losing ratings. Our ratings are down overall. Some of the ratings that we've had recently are some of the lowest in the history of Raw, some of the lowest in the history of SmackDown. AEW, although they are not close as of yet in the ratings wise, they are still gaining some marginal ground and getting the still have the cool factor, and they do have a younger demo that really is interested more in their product than our age for, I guess, for the WWE.
Which is crazy with what they're running with this last week is Sting versus CM Punk. Two people that we have all seen 50,000 times over, and they're acting like this is the newest thing running. It's
Absolutely.
working, though. I can't say it's not working. It's working.
It is working, but it's still not going to be something that I think is going to get them over the hump or get them on an even plane with the WWE as of yet. They
No,
still
not yet.
got more work to do. Maybe in the next year they will go ahead and accomplish that, but still, we're still talking about another 750 to 800,000 viewers they need to gain on a weekly basis for both their shows before we can start talking about them in that
But is this
even
audible to
sense.
Brock Lesnar really enough?
Well, I didn't know if it was the right thing to do in the first place, because if ultimately your goal was to have him face off against Roman Reigns, I think that what do you have for Royal Rumble now? Now you have two separate matches again for the
Right.
separate world titles. Do you have, unless it means something that I've always wanted to happen, which I do think should have happened, which I think should have never been broken up in the first place, and that's a unification match.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you think that's the ultimate goal at this point in time for WrestleMania?
Well, we had mentioned it, we talked a little bit, and I had mentioned that to you as well, I'm thinking there's going to be a rehash of a reunification, which, if you really think about what's been going on lately, do you not see a small rehash of an Attitude Era, just not the way anybody really wanted it?
Yeah, I will. I don't know. It's just been very disappointing to me, man. The call
As
that,
a whole, absolutely.
yeah. I mean, it just seems like wrong move after wrong move. They have a lot of people that either are kicked out of WWE and terminated, or they just leave WWE altogether, like Toni Storm did after her match last week. She did
Oh,
a
yeah,
triple
yeah,
threat at a house show and just decided to go home.
yeah.
Didn't tell anybody, just decided to go home after that. But Alex, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you follow the WWE? Is it more of your dad's wrestling organization? Because I know that I hear a lot still, even to this day. I
Mhm.
talked to John Orlando quite a bit from the PBD cast, and he and I agree that the trends and way that they need to market is for a younger audience. I'm not sure having Brock Lesnar win their title is the right answer for getting a younger audience.
Well, I've been a fan of WWE my whole life, practically, and it
Let's
kind
not
of
show it too. Just kidding.
um seeing Brock Lesnar just win titles after titles over and over again gets extremely repetitive, and it's kind of like, come on, we need someone different to win, because it's unfair how every fight he does against whoever and however many people there is, he always somehow ends up winning.
Absolutely. And it just,
Speaking of
go ahead, Jamie.
speaking of getting kind of like fed up, like, can I throw something out there at you two and see how you feel? I feel there was somebody that got shafted because of COVID and was very underrated that would be perfect for your generation. It just didn't get the full-on chance it deserved. And I feel that that was Drew McIntyre.
Well,
Granted,
unfortunately,
before, being the chosen one, that was it was a horrible gimmick back then. It's horrible that they bring it up now.
well,
But
he won the title during the pandemic, and he won it when there was no live audiences to be had, and he lost it while there was still no live audiences to be had. He was never really well, he might have won it when there was still live audiences to be had, but he was never given, I think, really a great run or a fair run in letting him just, letting the fans decide whether they want to go ahead and support
I
him
think it
fully.
could have been so much more.
But now he
Yeah, most
can't.
definitely.
But now he can't because he has a legitimate neck injury, and we don't
Hmm.
know the severity of it. And if you know the professional wrestling business at all, the neck is probably one of the worst injuries you can have in the business, because once you start getting neck fusion injuries and things of that nature, I mean, look at Edge. Edge was out of the game
Just
for
gonna
over
say
10
that.
years because of his neck injuries. And
Call Kurt
it
Angle and ask him.
yeah, absolutely. The neck is something that really can debilitate any professional wrestler out there. So we'll see what happens. Our thoughts are with Drew McIntyre. I mean, hopefully he'll come
Absolutely.
back around. Hopefully he'll feel better and get well soon and be able to go ahead and get the kind of push I think that he deserves. He's not my favorite, but I do respect him because, man, the guy's big, he's strong, he's athletic. And I think that he has enough charisma that he should at least be given a run with the title, or
I
a
agree.
title, or I don't know which title, the Monday or Friday title, whichever one serves him best. So I think that he should get a fair shot in front of a live audience. But again, this is something that when you and I, and also Alex, over the many years probably has come to know with the McMahons of the world and Bruce Pritchards and
Woo.
the individuals there that seem to be making all the key decisions sometimes don't have the best modern thinking in mind as far as the
You
product is concerned.
you hit the nail on the head for my next question then is you knowing the McMahons and what you just said as a whole for all these years, and even you, Alex, knowing coming, first house show at 2, and you grew up with some of the business where you saw a lot of the behind the scenes because Vince was still actively involved a lot. Do you feel that maybe this COVID with Roman at the last minute may have also been a tactic to stall to have Roman have that title because they really are up to something with Roman and possibly his cousin coming to set him straight?
That could
Uh,
definitely be an opportunity that they may be using.
his cousin, by the way, being The Rock, just to let everybody know out there if you're not familiar. I think that still with The Rock, you're not going to get very much, but outside of a 1 or 2 time appearance because his schedule is so full. So I don't know. It's depending on Brock Lesnar's and The Rocks of the world, I think it is a mistake. You need to start building something internally now. You need to start, get behind someone and make a run with them and make a run as a definitive champion. Roman Reigns as a bad guy, I think, is the best thing that they've got right now. I
Hmm.
think that, for every Braun Breaker, aka Braun Steiner, as I talked about on one of last week's shows with John Orlando, that you have, that you keep making mistakes on, that you have individuals out there that might have the potential to go farther. But right now, Roman Reigns should be the definitive dominating champion. He's not one of my favorites, but right now he is doing what he needs to do, is be a villain and to be a good one at that. And I think right now his mannerisms, his charisma, and his demeanor and the way he's going about things, I think is the best that he's done in his entire career. I think he's finally at ease and comfortable with being a villain. I think it's now's
Yeah.
the time you need to start running with him for a while as your champion. Alex, do you agree that maybe Roman Reigns right now should be the face of WWE?
I can definitely agree with that. He has brought in, I know, like a little bit of older viewers back just because they're trying to see what storyline they're creating with him.
And right now, I know Becky Lynch is not, with her heel character and heel persona, is not as over as she once was when she was the man. And I know that her off again, on again, real life, on the on the mat feud, both on and off the mat feud with Charlotte Flair. I mean, that's something that you're always going to have those two very competitive with each other. So it's going to be very hard for one of them now to really stick out as the individual woman in the WWE, because those two are just gigantic personalities and the egos that come along with it. But I think right now the best shot that they have is Roman Reigns going forward. And if they, please listen to me, WWE, when I say this, it is in your best interest in Dallas to go ahead and unify the titles. It just simply said.
Yep.
Jamie, you agree?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. It's like I told you earlier. I feel like that's what's coming. Anyways, I feel like Brock's gonna put his foot down and say, "I originally wanted that title. I wanted that competitor. I still want that title. I want that competitor," which is gonna lead to those two titles being unified. Which again, I go back to what I was saying earlier about how they're rehashing the past, but they're not rehashing the good parts of the past.
Yeah,
Because
I
this all
agree.
leans towards when Chris and all of them had that unification where Chris had 3 matches in one night just to
Yeah.
unify two titles, which was great, but you can't. Lightning doesn't strike twice like that. So now you're gonna run a totally different storyline, but rehash the part where you reunify titles. Like I could see where they're slowly grabbing bits and pieces from the past. It's just they're not utilizing them the right way with the right people. They're bringing in the same old people that were doing it back then instead of some new blood for the future, so that Alex can say, "Hey, yeah, WWE hit that point where it was kind of meh, but look at what they're going, look where they're going, and have another decade of people where they can still keep talking." Because I'm seriously, honestly, I've had this conversation with Alex too. I'm wondering when this company is going to get sold, when Vince finally figures out enough is enough and cuts his losses.
I've said it on the show already on occasions that I think something has to happen in the not too distant future. I think a lot of the roster cuts, a lot of the cost cutting is leading up to the company being, positioned for a sale at some point in time. I think that's why the infamous Nick Khan was brought into a leadership role in the first place, is to go ahead and get this company set up for a sale, to be attractive enough to be set up for a sale going forward. But Alex, I'll close our WWE thoughts with you. I wanted to go ahead and hear your thoughts. Do you think with what happened after day one, mind you, all of us, all three of us have to be somewhat understanding regarding the emergency circumstances of what it was. Do you think heading into Royal Rumble and then in the not too distant future, the weekend of WrestleMania, do you think that at least they're heading in the right direction, or do you think they need to make some changes before then?
So far, I do think they are leading into the right direction, and will hopefully open more opportunities to newer fighters or ones that haven't gotten in the spotlight as much.
I agree with you on that. In regards to, I'd like to see Ricochet being put more onto the forefront and give him an
It was
opportunity.
great where they were going with Big E
Yeah,
and where they're
Big E.
going with King Woods. I mean, giving those two a breath of fresh air as opposed to making them a forefront and stamped with nothing but New Day to hold them up. I think that's great, but they
But
got
they
to do more of that.
kind of dropped that, and like you said, with them, you've seen this before, where promising starts don't lead to promising finishes. The company ultimately decides to get off the ship per se and cut any type of momentum. We've seen that before. Personally, I would love to see Braun Breaker, aka Braun Steiner, take command of the NXT and then go forward from there. I think there's still a chance to go ahead and make him a dominating presence, because people want to follow him just because of the fact that he's good, he's big, he's strong, athletically. Plus, he has the pedigree that everybody seems to know and love and appreciate with the
Mm.
Steiners. So, love to see something done strong with him, and maybe by this time next year he'll become a main player on the main roster, but we'll wait and see. But right now, Brock Lesnar is the Raw champion, winning the 5-way title match at day one. Will we see more of that with him and maybe Bobby Lashley going forward, or will we eventually see a unification match with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns? We'll find out, but we want to hear your thoughts on where the WWE stands after the events of day one. Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, it's been a great episode. I want to thank Alex and Jamie so much for joining us, but we've still got a couple more things to talk about before we head on out, and that's our predictions for 2022 in pop culture. I'm going to start with you, Alex. I want to have you put on your thinking cap, your, I don't know, your fortune teller hat per se, whatever that may be. And I want you to go ahead and tell me however many predictions you want to make, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 5, whatever, what predictions you have for pop culture in 2022, whether it's TV, movies, video games, what have you.
Quick, get the magic
Um,
8 ball.
I do think that this year is going to be a bigger year for anime again, and especially some of the bigger animes per se, My Hero Academia, because I know their last season it kind of just felt like a filler season, and it wasn't as interesting as like the season that just happened before, with the whole Night Eye Agency arc. Now, 2 days ago, we got revealed the season 6 trailer for My Hero, and it's showing us that they're going to go into the war arc, which is one of the biggest arcs and very well known. And I'm just hoping that they don't make mistakes along with it by like pushing it out too fast or anything like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I agree with you that anime is going to, again, be more the forefront. I know that Netflix's delve into anime is something that, besides the fact that what happened with Cowboy Bebop, is still something that they're going to stay strong in, both in an animated and possibly live action going forward. I know that my daughter, Arwen, again, is very excited for what she sees from Demon Slayer, after what happened with Mugen Train and not only the movie but the series that came out last month. So the season that came out last month. So I'm excited to see what will happen for anime. I know that a lot of people, especially big anime fans such as yourself, are looking forward to seeing what's going to go on and continue with the anime in 2022. Any more predictions for 2022 in pop culture?
I do hope that some better TV shows come out this year, because it felt like last year there was just like a drainage of interesting and entertaining shows.
Okay. I'm hoping as well. I mean, it will start to even itself out. I think production teams for both TV and movies are going to start to catch up a little bit better, because the fact that they're now more used to working in a pandemic environment than they were, let's say, in 2020, when a lot of this stuff for 2021 was filmed and everything was delayed. A lot of stuff was delayed into 2021 and 2022. So you're going to see, hopefully, a lot more polished products come out in 2022 that will be more appealing to you. And I'm hoping that you're going to be right on the button with that prediction as well. Jamie, what do you have for as far as predictions coming up for pop culture in 2022?
Whew, my 2022 predictions. Where to start? Let's start in the world of video games.
Okay.
My predictions for 2022 in the world of video games. Hopefully, a brand new, fresh shooter genre, so we can stop relying on the fact that there'll be a brand new Call of Duty every year.
I
I'm
don't know. Make some
over
money.
Call of Duty. It makes money, yes, but is it worth? I've yet to spend a dime on Vanguard. I can't. It's too much for me anymore.
Well, I haven't spent money in Call of Duty in years. I'm one of those fans that they need to bring back. I thought Call of Duty Black Ops was going to do it, but then I saw the advanced looks at it, and I was like, oh, I really wanted it to work. I loved the time frame that was in, and then unfortunately it just fell through and didn't execute. And of course, you know what they're doing in Warzone. I see you playing Warzone all the time on your Degenerate 2018 channel.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm thinking that might be something that that could happen. Any other predictions for you for 2022?
TV predictions. I hope to see some really good more, series coming from Marvel. I love what they're doing so far as their series. I haven't seen too many yet that I've been like, meh. They've all been pretty well done and well executed to where I'm like, chomping at the bit for more. Even with the ones that we're not going to get more, I'm saying they're going, I want more.
Well, now comes the year where you're going to see stuff that is not as familiar with you. Be with Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk,
Hmm.
Moon Knight. These are now, maybe even Echo will sneak in before the end of the year. These are now names heading series that fans out there are not as familiar with. So now
I'm
it's going to be,
excited because I always read those comics and I grew up with the Marvel trading cards. I don't know if you remember those.
yes.
So I'm excited for that. I was just telling Alex the other day about the mashups in the comic books and in those cards where, X-Men would run in with Spider-Man or X-Men would run around and run into, you know, Moon Knight, things like that, to where, I hope that eventually we get to see things like that. That's what I'm hoping for as far as a TV and movie base as a whole, as far as it goes with Marvel, Sony, and all of them. I would love to see Deadpool and Spider-Man on screen together because their comic and animated presence together was always hilarious the way they played off each other. I would love to see that. That would be great. And I mean, it's quite possible we all have a lot of people out there running around messing with time right now.
That seems to be the thing, especially over the course of the next year with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. What could possibly happen with Guardians of the Galaxy? I know the holiday special, I think, is coming out this year. And then, of course, Thor Love and Thunder, and what could be up ahead. I'm not sure if Ant-Man and Quantumania, Ant-Man the Wasp and Quantumania, I don't know if that's coming out this year. I forget. I'll have to check on that, but I'll port that on the next show and let everybody know that. But I know that 2022 is going to be another good year for Marvel at the movies and at television. I think for me, my predictions is going to be pretty simple. I predict that Starfield will bring back Bethesda's glory after the debacle known as
Hmm.
Fallout 76. I think
Yeah.
this is a brand new IP that a lot of people in the industry are excited for. Alex, are you excited for Starfield? Is it something that you're thinking you might get into? This Bethesda Xbox exclusive? I think it's an Xbox exclusive.
I think
Being
it's a
out
timed exclusive, but yeah,
as a timed
I
exclusive.
believe it starts out as an Xbox exclusive. Yeah.
Well, it has to because it's owned by Microsoft. That's the way
So
you
I
got
think
to
it's a
be.
year timed exclusive though, like that
y-
other game they did.
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Alex. Do you think that it might be something you're really getting interested in?
Yes, I do think that will be that. And I hope it does have a big um like uprising when it does come out. Just I hope that it carries out for a while and not like after 2 weeks dies.
I hope it does the thing that I wanted to do. I hope it does the things that I wanted No Man's Sky to do. That's really, I mean, yes, you can go planet to planet in No Man's Sky and you can explore and see some things, whatnot, but interacting or a good and evil story or a story and plot through line, No Man's Sky, even as many refinements that it does, doesn't have that. Even with all the work they've done, really doesn't have that. It's a different style of game than a narrative going through it with a lot. It just seems like it's a different thing to do and different part adventure to be a part of. Whereas Starfield, I think if you follow the Elder Scrolls Fallout, the best of, and you take the best notes of it,
Hmm.
because it's Todd Howard directing this, as he's been the director for the Elder Scrolls series and the Fallout series. If you take the best of both those worlds, pardon the pun, and you bring it into Starfield, I think you can make something really special with Starfield. And I really have a lot of hopes set on Starfield. I really think it's going to be a big hit the latter part of this year.
Here's to hoping.
Here's to
Hopefully
hoping
they
it.
learned from a lot of the mistakes that other things have done. 76.
And I think one more thing that's going to be kind of a little bit shocking is that I don't think there will be a movie this year that comes out that will make as much money as Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
I
I can
really,
agree with that.
I can
I'm
agree
not.
with that.
I'm not saying it won't be $1 billion maker because Doctor Strange and Thor: Love and Thunder do have the
Hmm.
potential. Plus, you never know what the Batman can do and some other stuff out there. But I don't see a event movie where, again, this whole theme of this episode has been all these entities and IPs catering and itself more to a demographic closer and similar in age to Alex's age. the key was with Spider-Man No Way Home, that's what they did, and that's why it's earned so much money, is because younger audiences are going to it just as much and even more so than our audiences are, that our ages are, Jamie.
Hmm.
I think that it's going to be very hard to repeat that with whatever I'm seeing so far in 2022. Maybe wrong on that, but I have a feeling I have a better chance of being right than wrong on that.
Yeah. I think you're dead right there because unless we get another movie where it's gonna have, the potential to have those moments like this movie did, where everybody got that fan service
Yeah.
finally of it's Toby, he's coming. It didn't even matter that, spoiler alert, he came through without the suit on at first. It did not matter. People reacted. I've seen reaction videos all over the internet. People reacted. Now, here's my catch. I'm sure you've seen the reaction videos as well, where they're comparing from Endgame to this, as reactions to who's coming through the portal. And I feel to an extent some of the reactions were a little better in Endgame and well deserved to be better in Endgame. And that's not to take anything away from Spider-Man or how they did it. I just feel Andrew Garfield's entrance was amazing. Toby's entrance was kind of meh.
Yeah.
And I know that was on purpose, but I feel for us, our generation, I feel Toby's entrance should have been the one to steal the spotlight because that's what everybody was waiting for.
I
Then
agree.
I feel it would have warranted the reactions that it got. Because I feel the moment that Cap grabbed a hold of that hammer and the moment he strapped the rest of what was left of his shield to his arm and he heard his radio comm go off and heard on your left and that portal opened was more of a moment for me than these moments, unfortunately. And I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. You know that. I have the tat to prove it.
Yes, I believe me. Again, I'm not as much of a Spider-Man fan. I've seen all the Spider-Man films, but I know for you and Josh, this was supposed to be a great experience, and it was for Josh. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sounds like it was a good experience for you. And I thought the movie was good. I
It
didn't think it
was.
was
It was a
great.
good. It was a good movie.
Thought it
It
was a
could have been
mess.
better.
Yeah, it could have been better. I thought the beginning was messy. Sort of had to do a lot of cleanup on the end for some of the
Mm-hmm.
mistakes in the beginning, but still, it was a good movie, and that's what I'm going to state. It was a good movie to me. But again, I don't see anything hitting this year that big. I think anything this year. I could be wrong, and we'll report on it over the course of the year right here to Pop Culture Cosmos. But again,
I
those are
think
our
it's a safe bet.
predictions. Yeah, it's a safe bet indeed. But those are our predictions for 2022 for pop culture. If you have thoughts on any predictions, if you have any predictions for pop culture in 2022, please let us know. Pop Culture Cosmos on any social media or popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, I'll tell you what, once again, please follow Alex Monroy at Atomic Monkey on Twitch and also Degenerate 2018, Jamie Monroy on Twitch. But before we head on out, you two, we pay respects to the great Betty White, who gave a number one sign, so to speak, to us in the fact that she passed away at the age of 99. As everybody was going to do all this stuff for her on her 100th birthday, which was, I think, going to be on the 17th of this
Was
month.
just over 2 weeks away. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody was planning all this great stuff, TV specials, and of course tributes all around the world for her, and she ups and dies on us at
After
99
just doing an interview as well, saying about how it felt and how she made it to turning 100.
after having a Twitter exchange with Ryan Reynolds and all that, and just the love that's been outpouring for her after her death. But again, she passed away. Truly a tremendous career. Yes, she did win awards. Yes, she did win laudits and favors. But I think the fact that it wasn't just her career that she did, it was also outstanding. The Golden Girls and everything that she did before when the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Alex, when I'll say it to you first, Alex, I think when it comes to social media and all that, I think your generation, you still know who Betty White was. Betty White, even at 99, was someone cool to know, and you just the way she interacted out there. Still at 99, just even you knew who Betty White was.
Yeah, and she was definitely an influencer to even people my age, just by how amazing her career was and how she respected people almost no matter what.
Yeah, just basically a great human being. Did so much for the animals
Yeah, I was gonna say
because
that huge animal advocate. Huge. I remember
yes,
that from when I was a child.
yes. And again, she did the Golden Girls, did obviously several things over the course of her life, but it was the fame and notoriety in the last 20 years of her life, I think, that has earned her the most respect. Jamie, any last thoughts on Betty White before we head on out?
I think the biggest memory I have of Betty White, and everybody's gonna think this is funny because most people would probably think of her on Golden Girls, or think of her on Hot in Cleveland. My biggest memory of her, and I don't know if you guys knew about this or saw it as well, was when she posted on social media for her 99th birthday of how she was gonna spend her day. Just
Yeah.
quiet at home with a glass of wine with her friends and posted a picture of a deer that was outside her window. That was the most amazing thing to me because everyone should stop and really think about the beauty of that. She didn't say, I'm going to go hang out with all my Hollywood friends, or I'm going to have this huge party at my house with all these people that probably don't even care. Well, they do care, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They're only here because I'm Betty White and I'm having a birthday, and that's the only reason they showed up. She kept it simple and kept it real. This is all I need for my birthday to be happy. I'm good. Keep it simple. And I think that was a lot of how she got to be the ages that she got up to, is that she kept it simple
Yeah.
and kept it real.
I'll tell you what, it's been an honor to see and experience the life that's Betty White. I mean, unfortunately, again, she has the last laugh on everybody as she passed away before
Right.
anyone expected at 99. But if you have any grand thoughts or memories of Betty White, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friends, Alex and Jamie, you've been tremendous on today's show. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
I just want to thank you both for being my friend, pun intended.
Oh, there
No
you go.
disrespect, but hey, she was the world's friend. You guys are my friend, and I just want to thank you both.
Alex, any last thoughts?
Um, Not really, but thank you for inviting me.
Oh, always a pleasure. You're always welcome back. The red carpet is open for you both. You know it. Obviously, Jamie does so much work for us at Game Source on Facebook, plus also as well Degenerate 2018 on Twitch, and Alex Monroy. You can catch Alex at Atomic Monkey on Twitch as well. But I wanted to go ahead and make sure before we head on out, everybody knows that on Friday, Melinda Barkhouse Ross, hopefully health willing, is going to be back with us. I know she's been a little under the weather as of late. Hopefully she will be back strong with us for another great episode of the PC Multiverse. I will check in with my thoughts on CES in its limited fashion. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that lays out, because I'll be there once again. Plus also as well, we're going to be covering the latest news and trends in pop culture, episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, and so much more on the PCC Multiverse this Friday, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Alex Monroy and Jamie Monroy, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great